I hope the recordings are helpful for you.
Definitely.
So, let's start the discussion. The first question is, how does Ellen Showalter differentiate between feminist critique and gynocriticism? Okay, so this is the first question. How Ellen Showalter differentiate between feminist critique and gynocriticism? Who is answering this question?
Feminist critique means the um, books written by the uh, male authors and reviews on that books. And kind of criticism is the books and the works written by the female authors and their views, their thinkings, and all that.
Okay, next Samiksha ma'am, then Audrey.
Okay, so ma'am, shall I?
Yes, please. Okay, please answer.
Ma'am, in feminist critique, the work written by male author is usually examined, like the works are examined from male perspective or their point of view, or how male try to show or portray or represent women in their work. But in gynocriticism, Ellen Showalter tries to put a complete framework through which the works written by female writers can be examined or their literary criticism can be done by female writers only. So they promote women as writer in gynocriticism.
Okay, next.
So, feminist criticism analyzes the male texts and exposes their stereotypes, which study women as readers and exposes the political ideological oppression that has been done to the women literary tradition throughout. Whereas gynocriticism demands a separate genre where texts by women are examined by women critics, and so its uh, major target is to recover the women's literary tradition and study women as writers and rebuild that female literary tradition.
Okay, Naz ma'am.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Good evening, ma'am.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
everybody. Okay. So the question here is like I have to differentiate between feminist critique and gynocriticism, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, ma'am, as per the words of Ellen Showalter, she has actually depicted the literary theories under two ways to explain the situation of women in the differentiated scales. The very first one is feminist critique. So, feminist critique is a concept where the women is majorly focused as a reader, like here the women are being examined, that how they are being depicted in the male dominated literature, like how women, the stereotype which is basically being prevailed there for women, the marginalization of them, and the patriarchal ideology of the male writers, how they depicted them. We can take an example of Thomas Hardy, like in Taste of the D'Urbervilles, the way he represented the misogyny of women over there. So this is, and gynocriticism is a word which is coined by Ellen Showalter only. Here she mentioned women as the literary tradition writers. Here, actually, autonomy is being given to women as writers, means the creativity, the linguistic development, the artistic styles, and the experience women or females are actually witnessing or experiencing in the literature world is being shown. So, through gynocriticism, Ellen Showalter wants to construct an independent framework for women writing, which should have been very different from the male standard. So here the autonomy is being provided. Thank you.
Okay. So anyone wants to add more points to this question? Question is, how does Showalter differentiate between feminist critique and gynocriticism? Anyone wants to answer? How many of you have first session? Please raise your hand. Yes, anyone wants to answer? I want to know actually why you don't participate. We have 17 people and only
Ma'am,
3
can
people
you?
answered. Yes, ma'am. Please answer.
Okay, so in literary critics, it is an approach given by Alan Showalter, and in literary critics, Alan Showalter focuses on how women are portrayed in literature written by men, and it analyzes the images, roles, and stereotype of women, and often exposing how patriarchal values, patriarchal norms are embedded in these texts, which was written by men. And while important, so Walter sees this method as limited. It treats women only as a subject, and within male dominated narratives, and ignores women as a writer. It only used women as a subject, so subject point of view. So in gynocriticism, uh, she coined Ellen Walters, she coined the term gynocriticism and described the study of women as women writers, and with their own text, their own styles, where their own themes and literary history also. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, anyone? So if we explain it in one word, feminist critique is like women as a reader, and gynocriticism is women as a writer. So, in feminist critique, Showalter says that whatever the literature we have that has written from the male's perspective, we have to read it from a female's perspective as a reader. If a female will read that literature, how she will react. So, this is actually the feminist critique. And in gynocriticism, she says that we need a complete framework to write a literature from a female's perspective, because whatever the literature we read that has male dominance in themes, in ideas, and actually the way we frame the character in a literature that has that patriarchal impact on the characters, on the plot, on the story, everything, and even in the criticism also we have that patriarchal impact. So she says that we should create that framework where a woman as writer can express what she has. So actually she has also given few frameworks. For example, we have to first talk about the linguistic aspect, how we should focus on the linguistic part of a literature. Then we should focus on the cultural aspect and a biological aspect, and there is one also psychoanalytical aspect. So in gynocriticism, women express herself. For example, we have few authors in Indian English literature like Kamla Das. This is the perfect example how she deals with the topic considered taboo in India also, and in Western culture also. If a woman is openly talking about female sexuality, it is taboo in India, and actually in any culture which has patriarchy. So she says that without being what we can say that affected by these preconceived notion, a woman should deal these topics as very normal. As a man can speak on sexuality, women can also speak. So this is all about gynocriticism. So anyone wants to add more points to this question?
Yes, ma'am. This gynocriticism also eliminates the fear of suspicion. There's one theory called suspicion theory, also put forward by this Ellen Showalter, because males have always enjoyed a dominant position by subverting the female's condition in society. They have always shown and kept women inferior deliberately. All the text historically that was as discovered by Virginia Woolf also historically also all the texts have manipulated in giving an inferior status to women. So there is a suspicion theory that whatever text is written by males, they may show women in poor light to maintain their superiority. So that suspicion theory is also taken into consideration by Ellen Shewald.
Okay, so anyone, or should we move to next question?
I just want to mention one thing that the main aim of feminist criticism is to expose the patriarchy or critique patriarchy, whereas gynocriticism demands a separate genre for women and to recover the women's tradition.
Yes, exactly. As last in the last session, we discussed three phases given by Ellen Showalter. So, in those three phases, she has actually explained that initially we have started writing just to have that that's just to have that position in the literature, just to say that we as a women can also write, but we were not free. So somehow we have taken the pseudonym of male pseudonyms we have taken just to hide the identity that a woman is writing. But later on in the second phase, we have actually criticized and questioned the preconceived notions, the perspective we have towards women. But in the last, in the third phase, women actually explored their personality, explored their views without rejecting or criticizing patriarchy or the male content. So it is about finding your own self without downgrading or without criticizing someone who is there. Some like it is opposite to that binary opposition. Like something, if a man is opposite to women, we are not opposing, we are just finding our own self. So this is all about the gynocriticism is, as far as I have understood about gynocriticism. Okay, so anyone with this question? So, okay, so next question is, why does Showalter argue for a female literary tradition? So, why she is arguing for this? This is the question. Anyone?
Because for in her terms, the literary canon or literary history is essentially male centered, where women's writing has been marginalized. Even the woman, if someone published a book as a woman writer, their works were not read. That's why they had to took the pen names. So Walter Showalter challenges these aspects and she demands that female experience is distinct but not inferior. So, a female literary tradition will recover the neglected women writers, and it will recognize female experience, female body, female language in a distinct way, which will enable women to define themselves on their own terms.
Okay, Diksha ma'am, you answer.
She argued for an female literary tradition because it is the way of recognizing and valuing the contribution of women throughout the history. She believed that females' voice has been ignored by the literary canon, which was male dominated, and women writers overlooked because they were not educated much, and they were not um, we can say that in male dominant society, people were not ready to read them. By seeing that it was written by female author, they do not read that work only. So they also, many female writers have used pseudonym to publish their work, and she wants to bring attention to women's literary tradition. And she emphasizes that women have always written and their works need to be recognized as part of larger literary tradition the way male has been recognized. And she also argues that women's struggle and women's perspective is more clearly we can say that women can more clearly write about them because they have experienced it. Female writers cannot express their struggle the way female is struggling, so it is better that female write about their own struggle and their own consequences and the uh, sorry, I am not getting the word. That's it from my side.
Okay, no issue. Anyone with the same question? Or you can also
Yes.
discuss the three phases. This question we have discussed yesterday. You can also answer this question also. Yes, we have two names, Naz ma'am and Arundhati ma'am. Please answer one by one.
So can I go first?
Okay, okay.
Okay, so in development of a genre of their own, that is gynocriticism, Ellen Showalter, she recognizes that it's a slippery slope. And she takes the example of Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, where she says that women have been actually advocating for Amazonian utopias when it comes to writing their own literature or developing their own genres, which Ellen Showalter says is not the way to go ahead. So we know what is the myth of Amazonians, right? It's a land which is devoid of male gender construct. Only females are there. Only womanly identities dwell in that land, and it's kind of accepted as a perfect utopian land for women to be. So she says that one is Virginia Woolf's Room of One's Own. Another thing is she says that she then goes on to critique Thomas Hardy's representation of women. Women, yeah, female characters have always been portrayed as too melancholic, too submissive. They're just not able to, have agency or control on their life. So she says that these are the traditions. These are both two extreme traditions, and we have to find the perfect midway to go ahead.
Yes. Okay, Naz ma'am, please answer.
Okay. So, ma'am, as you have asked the question that why Ellen Showalter stressed upon the women literary tradition. So here certain points which we have come out through that women were being ignored since long, as history depicts it very clearly that in terms of literary traditions, women were ignored. As we took the examples of the prior genres and the ages, so there the example of George Eliot, she has depicted a pseudonym. She has taken the different name and wrote. Means women were not even in the condition to go with that literary traditional writing by their own name. Historical exclusion was also being there. As we take the work of Shakespeare, there we have seen that how women were like subverted and suppressed and oppressed, as we have seen. And then in the male criticism era, there also we have noticed that they did not identify facing in the literary tradition. And that's why she came out with the contribution of proposing three phases, where she clearly identified the issues, the problems, and how to come out with the solution as well. And those three phases, as we discussed yesterday, the very first one, feminine phase, where the females were just imitating male skills and they were applying with the pseudonyms. The second one is the feminist phase, where they started protesting and demanding for their rights. And the third one is the female phase, where they got autonomy, where they actually started creating their own literary world. So in this way, she just wanted to, stressed on the dignity of the female literary tradition and help women to reclaim their voices in the world and to redefine the literary history of women. That's been my answer. Thank you.
Okay, so my next question is, what does Edward Said mean by Orientalism? In what ways is Orientalism connected to colonial power and knowledge? Okay, so the question is about what is Orientalism by Edward Said. So who is answering this question? Okay, Naz ma'am, you can answer. And Samiksha ma'am,
Okay.
both you have raised your hand. So please answer one by one.
Okay. So, ma'am, should I?
Yes,
Okay. So, the question here is like the meaning of Orientalism as per Edward Said, right?
yes.
Ma'am, can you please repeat the question?
Okay, I'm repeating the question. Why does Edward Said mean, what does Edward Said mean by Orientalism? In what ways is Orientalism connected to colonial power and knowledge?
Okay. So, Orientalism is basically a work of Edward Said written somewhere in 1978, as far as I know. So, here he has come out with the concept of Western ideologies and thoughts. What Orientalism, according to him, that it is a Western system of knowledge which represent East, means the Orient as inferior, backward, uncivilized, and exotic. And what he has revealed through this term as well, that he has told that knowledge is not being neutral, it has been somewhere impacted, like how the West is dominating towards East, the way they are mentioning them, the way they are making them inferior. And here the basically Wests are called Occidents as well. So he has basically defined East as inferiors, and he also has defined in Orientalism that how West are controlling East through culture, academic knowledge, and he also remained with the colonial term over there. That how colonialism is impacting the whole world and defining their identities without the voice of natives. This, as far as I know.
Okay, anyone? Yes, you can answer, Samiksha ma'am.
Okay, so ma'am, Orientalism is a book written by Edward Said that came around 1978. So, Orientalism, if we go in the literal sense, then it comes from the word Orient, which means where the sun rises the first. So, in literal sense, it means the East. If we go conceptually, then Orientalism, according to Edward Said, means that how West or the Occident try to portray or try to represent the East. How Western scholars, in their work of fiction or non-fiction, they depict, they represent, they try to show the East. And usually, the East means the Middle East nation, particularly nations like Israel, Palestine, and African nations and India, how their culture, their language, their tradition, their norms, their ideologies, all of it is represented in a very demeaning manner, in a very inferior manner, or irrational or uncivilized manner by the West. So, this was the concept of Orientalism. And in this book, Edward Said has given two major terms: Occident to represent the West, and Orient to represent the East.
Okay, very nice. So the question is actually same. Everyone will answer the same. If you want to add more points, otherwise I will move to next question.
Ma'am, just wanted to add one book,
Okay, sure.
uh, White Man's Burden by
Yes,
Rudyard Kipling. He has written to justify their colonial rules over the colonies they have built on.
yes, and actually these works they were became the foundation stone for the post-colonial theory as well. So,
And
my
ma'am,
question.
actually, in this work, White Man's Burden by Rudyard Kipling, the West try to justify that if they have made any nation as colony, then it was their moral duty or obligation. Because the colonized nations, their people were irrational, they were not having any logical approach, they were inferior, they were not civilized, and it was their moral obligation to make them civilized beings. So they are doing it for their betterment. This approach was seen.
Yes, and I think this approach was there in West for from many years. For example, uh, take just read the Tempest by William Shakespeare, and the relationship between Caliban and Prospero, which is the
Mm.
clear depiction of colonization. And he also says the same, that it is his duty to make Caliban, what we can say, that civilized. So this was also the colonial mindset, or we can say that ideology. So it was there for
Mhm.
many years in Western
Ma'am, in
philosophy.
Robinson Crusoe also it is seen.
Yes, Robinson Crusoe also, but actually Robinson Crusoe is much modern than Tempest,
Mm.
where there was no
Tempest.
idea of colonization. Even they had that mentality that it is their duty to do that thing. Okay, so my next question is, how is okay, Arundhati ma'am, please continue.
No, ma'am, I'll just say my point in the next question.
No, you
Please
can
go
say.
ahead.
Question is very simple. My question is, how is Orientalism still relevant in contemporary global politics and media? This is my question. How it is still relevant?
Okay, let me think about it.
Okay, so till then, anyone, if you have any point that how is Orientalism still relevant in contemporary global politics and media, you can, because still,
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, shall I?
sure.
So, ma'am, there is a term called post-colonial capitalism about which Frantz Fanon and Ngugi wa Thiong'o, these writers have talked. So it says that even a nation, when it has got its independence or when it has recovered from the colonial mindset, there are certain nations which hold the economy, which hold the power. They continue to colonize them ideologically or psychologically. So in contemporary world, we see that there are nation, particularly nation like USA, they hold all the power in terms of economy. So they try to colonize the other nations, particularly the East nation. So it is still in prevalence in this way.
Hmm. Okay, anyone? Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes. Ma'am, one thing is neocolonialism. Neocolonialism still there is this idea that capitalism that is coming from the West, or the products that are coming from the West are far better. They come from rational, technical oriented fields. Whereas if something is indigenous, it is still considered like exotic, either exotic or inferior. And then there is another thing of cultural appropriation, where India still it chooses willingly to represent itself as an exotic land of cultures, which we are just calling in a fancy way niche tourism. Every time a foreign delegation comes, we greet them with dance and spectacle. So how is that different from what William Hazlitt said in his Indian Jugglers? How is it any different from when Nehru was criticized for uh, presenting India as the land of snake charmers? So it just the terminology has fancied itself, just as capitalism is now neo capitalism or colonialism is neo colonialism, but the underlying ideology still operates and it is still the same. How we represent and how we see ourselves.
Okay, anyone?
Ma'am, on international level, also there are certain organizations like United Nations and NATO, United Nations itself. India is, India is craving for the membership there. security council and all, but still we are not given the membership, the permanent membership. Despite being the one of the largest population here, we are quite well equipped with everything that's required to be a member over there. But still, in all the international organizations, the Orientalists, the Oriental countries are not given proper representation. They are also the colonial powers still holding their say. So that's one thing. And moreover, the Commonwealth Games. When we are organizing the Commonwealth Games, it's also an indication of colonial power and our past. Matlab, we were the colonized ones. That's it.
Okay, as you have mentioned about the UN and that membership, I think this is the different topic and it has something to do with colonialism, but not completely. Because if we talk about the international politics, so there are many reasons. India is a very what we can say that we don't compromise.
Non-alignment,
We don't
non-aligned
align.
country.
We don't align with the norms and conditions of other country, and this is our policy that we have adopted. So this is the reason we are not getting the membership first, and the second is, as Arundhati ma'am had mentioned this point, that we still celebrate those things which we don't actually need to do, because we are showing that it is like somebody is criticizing us something for something, and now we are doing opposite to just tell them. We are just proving it, but we don't need to prove
Ma'am,
that this.
here I differ from you because I don't agree, ma'am, here, because this is our richness, this is our cultural heritage. When we are exposing our culture, we are displaying all these things. This is our richness. I think this is a plus point. I don't think it in any way diminishes our image or reputation internationally, because India is culturally so rich, so diverse. So I think this is a plus.
Yes,
Even at the time of
I can add one
colonialization, also
point
when
here. So it is like, I will give the example of Dalit literature just to make you explain better that what
fine.
is the ideology in Dalit literature, that either we sympathize with them, or we what we can romanticize them, that glorify their struggle, their
Or
problems.
they want to portray what they have been through. They want to portray what they have been through.
Yes,
They, Dalit literature is their voice. It's their
sometimes we
voice. They
also do
want to.
this internationally. I feel that sometimes we do, not always. I agree with your point that it is our culture, we should express our identity, our culture, our songs and everything, but sometimes just to prove that we are not this, we are actually doing the same thing again and again, that I think we don't need to do anymore, because we know that being the largest populated country in the world, and we had a great contribution. If you talk about in tertiary sector, like service sector, we are the contributors, larger contributors, and we are not less than anyone in any field, I think. But this mentality we still have, somehow we have,
Mhm.
that yes, there is something which is not equal to that western countries. That's how we compare to. And just take the example of China. China was also the colonized country, but now we can see that they have changed their perspective, their mentality, and they have on that position, but we have still that mentality with us. We are lacking on something. Okay, this is
Okay.
actually the off the topic discussion, I think. Please come to the
And
point.
discussion directly in the interview. So
uh,
I think we all should be enlightened about it. Thank you.
ओके मैम, एक्चुअली आपकी वॉइस बीच में ब्रेक हुई, मुझे समझ नहीं आया आपने क्या बोला.
I said we never know in which direction the interview will proceed. So I think these kind of discussions are enriching.
हाँ, एक्चुअली just to help us to think analytically on any topic.
Yes.
Okay, so anyone wants to add more points, or you want to share your views regarding this topic we are discussing?
Ma'am, what I feel here is that we are talking about Orients and Occident. So why we are centralizing with our own country, India? Basically, we are talking about whole Asia and African nations. So why we are centralizing our answer here with our own country cultures and roots? I think we should skip that part and we should centralize the whole Asia and African nations, I guess. That's a safe side.
Yes, we can do this, definitely.
Yeah.
But what happens? This is a journal. What we can say that tendency. We always start with our home to give the
Okay.
example. So this is common thing we do. But if we take
Yes.
example from other countries, that will be also good. There is no issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, but the whole global south, if you see Vietnam, Thailand, Bali, they are all based mainly these are tourism based GDP economies, tourism led economies. They're just they're just projecting themselves as exotic over and over again, and that is how their economics are running, which is very scary. Which is why every now and then there is toppling down of government. They don't have stable governments. They every now and then there are revolutions because they are not working on the infrastructure. They on Of course India is very different from these countries, but the argument that I gave, that projecting yourself as a land of exotic as vacation, that really does hamper some smaller nations in the long run, which even in Maldives we see that it keeps on happening. They only run on tourism. That's the only thing they have something to bank upon. Other than that, they don't have anything. Obviously, this is not true for India.
Yes, our case is very different. India is a very diverse country. We have so many options if we talk about all
Yes.
these things.
And when it comes to our heritage, our cultural heritage, we are made up of tribes. Every tribe has their own folk narratives, their own culture of get-togethers. We can dance at our home. We can dance at our community. We don't always have to project ourselves in front of the foreign delegations. Even corporate companies have started doing that, which is scary. And I am saying this out of a research paper that was recently presented at IIT Bhilai. So it will take some time for that paper to come on Google Scholar, but when it does, I will share it. I will share it in the group. So yeah, that is also one of the major concerns of political science department, how we project ourselves, because that's soft power. It deters investment. It deters investment again at the cost of going astray. Investment will How will we get investment when we project ourselves as rational, technical oriented nation, which is grounded on manufacturing sector, not on this.
I think every opinion has two sides. It's like a two sides of a same coin. So this thing actually depends on the atmosphere or the place where you are projecting yourself. So we can do this like separate two things. For example, if we are talking about the tourism, then it is important to depict or to represent our culture. But if you are talking about IT sector and other departments, there is no need. So yes, we should separate these two things. Then it will be that can be the solution of this issue. Okay, so I think let's move forward to next question. So the question was my next question was that how does Orientalism operates at academic, cultural, and political level? But I think this question is also similar with what we have discussed. So now I'm moving forward to Judith Butler. Okay. So if you have any point related to adverse side, you can share. Anyone, if you want to share anything.
Ma'am, when we are talking about the long-lasting effects of Orientalism, so I'd like to mention a few things. Like the Orientalism essentially gives the Western nations to impose their power on the Oriental nations and make present them as the superior and justify their rule. So, in this case, I would like to mention the concept of third space from Homi Bhabha, where the both cultures of the ruler and the Oriental nation comes together, and at one moment the third space country or the ruled country starts they accept themselves as the inferior ones, and they start doing the mimicry of their rulers, and that thing is still existing. Like if we think about the current representations of let's say Africa or India, even till today, when we hear the name Africa, first thing comes our mind is a malnourished child sitting in a very deserted land, striving from hunger. If we say India, the first thing comes a very dirty city. This kind of stereotypes has been remained throughout, even till today, which is a effect of their Orientalism. And the text Kama Sutra, which was written by Vatsanai, had a bigger purpose, which is reduced to only sexuality and a taboo thing by the Orientalist. And even till today, we think in that way, and we don't explore our culture, and just like we regard those as taboo. Even the our temples, old temples, has clearly the carvings of those things, but they have taught us that this is inferior, this is not socially acceptable, and we are still running on that path.
Yes. Actually, if we talk about the colonization or invasion, so we normally talk about Britishers, but actually, initially, it was the Mughals or the Muslim rulers. They invaded in India. So we have impact of their culture also, because as far as I know, Indian culture is very open, and in terms of women also, we were not that much rigid. We have many women scholars. If you read Vedic literature, they have their contribution also, and even there are few traditions that we follow now. For example, veil tradition, and the women, they are in the home, and the topic you have talked about, like Kam Sutra, and we have there that sculptures and everything on temples. This was our culture originally. We don't have so much restrictions on women as far as I know about Indian culture. But it was the invasion happened, and there were many things. There are so many reasons. I'm not talking about only the invasion. There were many logical reasons also behind these things. But yes, it has affected. And culture is something, it involves, it affected by other people also in other countries' culture also. So now what we have, it is the mixture of everything. So, yes, if we are talking about colonization, then we should also talk about the invasion that happened in India. So, let's just discuss other things. If you have anything you want to share, anyone, please share with this topic. And it is an endless debate that we
Endless
can continue.
discussion. Yes, we can continue after interviews because very interesting.
Yes,
So,
actually.
ma'am, you said about a tempest. So, actually, Edward said in Orientalism himself has said that this kind of depiction of the East, unfair depiction, has been happening since Aeschylus' time. So, Aeschylus wrote a play, The Persians, and he depicted Persian women as sexually exotic. Okay, they were scantily dressed, available for an easy intercourse, and the men were depicted as uncouth barbarians. And from there he starts his discourse, and he goes on to see the depiction of Mughal travelers, how Mughal travelers have depicted our global south, what we call the global south. Or ultimately he ends this argument by saying that Algeria was a French colony. Algerian women were also very, not only badly depicted, but also uh, systematically they were starved, they were deprived, they were kept underprivileged, so that for easy sex they would be ready to prostitute themselves to the French, because Algeria was a French colony. So all this Edward Said has mentioned in Orientalism. I just wanted to add.
Okay, actually, I don't remember where I have read this thing, that whatever we read, whether it is literature or history, it is someone else's perspective or someone else's views that we are reading, and we are not referring to the actual thing that happened. Suppose something is happening and I am documenting that particular incident, and after 100 years, someone will read, that will be my perspective. So it's like watching a movie from someone else's perspective. So you are not actually watching the real incident, or you are not reading the real event that happened. You are reading or observing from someone else's point of view, and that will be always biased. So all the history, all the literature that we have, we cannot get the actual idea that what was actually happened. So don't never be so much rigid with your views and with your ideas, because it is ever changing. And this is the reason, because whatever we are reading, it is from male's perspective. So we can also add that why gynocriticism important, why Ellen Showalter has said that suppose a woman was writing about these wars, like World War, and before World Wars, different wars happened between countries, within countries, civil wars, and all these things were documented from a male perspective. But suppose a women were writing, so definitely there will be a different scenario of the things, because we think differently from men. So this is the actual reality of history and literature. And literature is not different. It is mirror to society and whatever we have. So suppose in history we have facts, but in literature we have narratives, but both are interlinked.
Just like the Palace of Illusion represent Mahabharat from Draupadi's perspective.
Yes, definitely. If you have not read, I will suggest please read Palace of Illusion, and you will understand two different perspectives. It is very good. Like when I read the book, it has changed my perspective, that it is very important to understand a women's perspective, how we think about the particular event or incident in the history. Okay.
Yes, and here I want to mention one more text that I have read, Gertrude Talks Back by Margaret Atwood. So all throughout the history, Hamlet has come down as a very phenomenal character, and he has been studied from all kind of lenses. No one bothered to ask what exactly happened with Gertrude, the Hamlet's mother, whether she was a victim of the circumstances or she deliberately connived with the uncle to get the throne, the power. Did she really cheat? Did she not? So to her also, like, this can also be like decentering, Derrida's decentering. So
Hmm.
from Hamlet, Margaret Atwood has taken the viewpoint of Margaret Gertrude. What Gertrude felt, what was Gertrude's reaction to the happenings that were going on in the court. So that is also like Palace of Illusions can also be called a decentering event where the discussion is taken away from the epic characters and the marginalized characters, people who are at the fringes. They are given a voice.
Yes, and this is a trend now where people are discussing the unspoken voices. So in literature also, in movies and in everywhere. And if you are able to mention this in your interview, this will be good, I think. So you can mention in terms of your favorite books, your favorite fiction, that you like to read these narratives where we are talking about a person who was ignored in history or in literature. So this is happening. Like we have Mahabharat from Karn's perspective, also from Draupadi's perspective, and we have Ramayana from Sita's perspective. There are different myths and mythologies we are writing again in modern and contemporary literature. So you can mention this thing also.
Ma'am, here I just remembered the interesting point of view that in Orientalism, language also plays a critical role. Like if in the context of Tempest, initially Caliban had no language. He was a barbaric creature, and Prospero colonized him, or he taught him, he educated him, and later he started abusing him, cursing him in his own language. So here Caliban says, "The language I curse you with is your own." So the Orientalist, or the who colonized, he also gets uh, becomes a victim in some way.
Actually. Okay, so anyone? Okay, so next question is explain the concept of performativity in Butler's theory. I don't know क्या मेरा pronunciation खो गया. So the question, do you get the question? Performativity. Okay, so this is the question. Who is answering?
Okay, so Butler differentiated between sex and gender. sex is something you are born with, which is primarily identified by the child's genitalia, which is male or female, and there is third sex, I guess. And whereas gender is socially constructed, it's not what you initially born with. It is something society imposed on someone. So according to Butler, gender comes from performativity. Like you are trained to follow certain norms through which you are identified as male, uh, as man or woman. So, and with different types of norms, different genders can be created. So that's the point of performativity.
Okay, anyone with the same question?
Yes. So okay. Let Samiksha ma'am go first.
Okay,
Okay.
let's see. Okay, Samisha ma'am, you are first, then Naz ma'am. You have raised second.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, Judith Butler in this text, Imitation and Gender Subordination, she has distinguished between sex and gender. So, sex means male and female. This is something which is natural. But when it comes to gender, or when it comes to this notion of entire feminine or manlyhood characters, they are socially constructed norms, or they are being imposed by society. And repeatedly, when in our everyday life we start performing them, then it appears as natural to us. For example, we say that if you are a woman, then you have to act in a delicate manner, you have to keep your voice low. So all of these norms, or if you have to dress in a certain way, you have to behave in a certain way, these norms are socially constructed, and when we start performing them repeatedly, they become like a performance. So this was what she said. And she also said that gender is not something which is natural or which is original. It is something which we get developed within ourselves through repeated acts and performances.
Okay, next Naz ma'am.
So, ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So, as per Judith Butler, she completely rejected the binary concept of having the gender, like the male and the female. She clearly stated that performativity is actually not a performance like you put on the costume and you declared yourself as the male or female. What, as per her words, gender is produced through repetition of actions, like the speech, the differentiation of speech, the gestures, the behaviors. So, and before these acts, gender does not exist, as per her words. So, what she has told that it is just an illusion. Okay, to have the stable gender, the way you are going to perform, the way you are going to act, it is going to define your gender on the basis of social context. And she also called it as imitation of X. Thank you.
Okay, next.
So she begins her treatise by stating that as soon as a child is born, the very first question everyone is concerned about is what is the sex of the child, because gender is then imposed on that child. That child does not willingly take a gender. Like sir has already identified the difference between biological sex and gender. So gender is a social construct, but it is imposed unwillingly upon the child that is born. And throughout his life or her life, they have to perform that gender. It is not enough that for 30 years of our life, or we are all almost 30, we have been identifying as a man or a woman. If just very next day we start behaving in a way that is not socially right for our gender would be jeopardized. So there is one thing. And another thing, like Nazma has said, that she was completely against this binary of gender. And she says that she believes that this kind of suspension of social order of gender can be found in the drag queen performance. The drag queen performance that is very common in LA, you guys might have seen in movies, or the drag, वो अपना कौन था, Chandler's dad, he was a drag queen in LA in Friends. So she says that like a carnivalesque way, in a carnivalesque way, this suspension of social order happens again as a performance. People just see it as a performance, a drag queen, but they don't accept it in a normal gender social order. It is considered very inappropriate. So every day we need to have this binary. We need to know whom we are speaking to, whether it's a man or a woman. Why? Because she also says that there is a lot of political power that is ridden with the associated with the male gender, because it is not just about behavioral patterns, it is also about ideological patterns, because a man is expected to be a leader, an adventurer, someone who is not afraid to go out there. But a woman, she is expected to there is also gender unfair gender divide of labor in our country. Judith Butler has also said that the capitalist forces operate, the corporate sector operates on this premise that there is a woman back home who is taking care of the domestic chores. Otherwise, the men would not be able to perform their capitalistic labor. This also she says in this lecture. So it is a lot of it's a lot of critique. It's a critique of gender roles, also gender divide, also labor, capitalism. There's a lot of political underpinnings in this.
Okay, so there is a question that has come into my mind right now. So actually, everybody knows about LGBTQ community. So I want to know your personal opinion. That do you agree that it is actually what we can say that socially constructed genders that we have created recently? So do you really think that it is there actually, or it is just the idea of our brain, and actually it does not exist in reality, or it is just a performance that people have just gained that yes, we are this and we are that? What is your personal view? Because depending on the ideology that we have right now about Indian knowledge system and whatever we have in India, we few people oppose this theory. So what your opinion, your personal opinion actually? You can share, anyone. I know this is a little bit controversial topic.
Ma'am, let me try.
Okay.
We talk about the. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are
Actually,
audible.
network issues are there today. That's why I'm asking again and again.
No, no, you are audible.
Yeah. So, ma'am, as far as the Indian cultures are being, systemized or acknowledged, then what we have noticed is a few years ago only we have come out with the Supreme Court judgment, and so they actually have kept saying that it's not a crime. Means LGBT communities on what aspect they are indulging in, it's not a crime, but India is not accepting it truly on the because we are somewhere sidelined as we have read in the Orientalism work, that is somewhere India is actually showcasing itself as diverse culture and the country who is enriching in its roots. So we are not accepting them in the social constructive manner, but as talks about the personal approach, then each and every individual is having the right to go or hybrid with their freedom, but that freedom should not harm others. So it is a social constructive approach because we are not accepting it on the basis of social manners. That what should I say? But individual freedom, I think, should be given to the people because it's their bodily right what they want to approach with. Yes, and it is not a crime even in India now. It's not a crime, but it is not acceptable. It is not completely accepted as well. Yeah.
Okay, anyone with the same question?
Okay, so should I go, or if someone else speaking?
Yes, yes, please, you can.
So the Indian family structure, it is, let's be upfront and honest about it. The Indian marriage structure, which requires a man and a woman, it's very patriarchal. It is only meant to safeguard the interests of a man, And even our law is, people are saying that our law is very unjust. It is based on the premise that women is the inferior one. Women is the one who does not have political, social, and financial agency. Yes, our law still operates on this hypothesis, and to some extent, it is true because it comes out of facts, it comes out of our social reality. So, Arundhati Kanju, my namesake, she is one of the lawyers in Supreme Court lawyers. She's been fighting for gay marriages in India. So what the problem is that ये ascertain नहीं हो पा रहा है कि in a marriage, because this is our conventional view of the marriage, that a man is the one who has more rights. Man is the one, if something goes wrong in the marriage, then man is the one who can be very easily blamed by the court, by a legal system, by our society, and woman is always the inferior one, and she's always the victim. Now what happens in a gay marriage is that these power dynamics are not able to be defined. Who is the man and who is the woman in an LGBTQ relationship, in a gay relationship? Even the portrayal of LGBTQ, I have even written a blog about it. It's very wrong because gays are, represented as effeminate. Gays are not effeminate. Gays are like normal people. Like even lesbians are not masculine. They are not dykes. Dykes bolte hain unko. No, all lesbians are not like that. So like I can be like a normal woman. I can have be delicate, but I would, my gender, my sexual orientation would be like, as a gender I'm a woman. My sexual orientation is straight. My sexual orientation could be lesbian. Yeah, I could, be in love with a, romantically engaged with a woman. तो ये सारे डायनामिक्स हैं, अंडरपिनिंग्स हैं, and it's very complicated in a country like India, which even the smallest unit of our country's structure, cultural structure का smallest unit, family जिसको हम बोलते हैं. Recently only there was in YouTube, there is this whole proceedings where the judge has said that it is still very power laden. It is laden with power, madam. That's what he said. So it is not so easy to decide, not so easy to legalize it, accept it.
Yes, exactly. This is the reason. Legally, it is not accepted in India because the reason you have mentioned, they are correct. But suppose something related to this topic, you have to answer in a situation where you are an interview or you are in a very formal setting. So you have to answer this mentioning the legal implications, what is there. So then this question will be like correct. We will answer it correctly. For example, the system of marriage we have. So we have few purposes like all the rules related to divorce, related to marriage, and also the property rights and all. So these are always depicted considering two people in that pact, a man and a woman. But in these cases, we cannot actually differentiate who is man and who is women. This is the reason why we are not able to legalize. In future it can happen, but now we don't have any uh, idea or solution to these. So legally it is not possible, but yes, as an individual we have the right to be in our way. We can be like whatever we want, so yes, but legally we cannot do this. Okay, anyone wants to share their points, or should we move to next question?
Ma'am, about LGBTQ community specifically, the question is.
Actually, I have heard somewhere that few people, they actually reject completely this idea. They say that uh, this is nothing. It is just the mind you have created it. In reality, it does not exist. I don't know. I have read or I
Mm.
have heard someone saying this. Maybe this is the ideology our government is promoting, because you know that our government is a bit different in terms of these topics. So maybe they are promoting, and there will be many people, they are also supporting this ideology that LGBTQ is some nothing. For example, the same people used to say about feminism when it was initially started. They used to say that it is nothing. बस आपके दिमाग का एक तरह से फितूर है. There is no discrimination between men and women. But later on they accept it. So, and still few
Ma'am,
people don't accept that. They think that कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि फीमेल जो है वो ज्यादा परेशान है। दे ऑल्सो सपोर्ट मैन की। अभी जो मैन है वो ज्यादा परेशान है, एंड दे ऑल्सो गिव द एग्जाम्पल्स। जस्ट सी द डाउरी केसेस एंड domestic violence cases. There are many cases where a family is innocent and daughter-in-law actually वो ब्लैकमेल कर रहे हैं। बहुत सारे ऐसे रीजंस वो सुना देते हैं कि अभी फेमिनिज्म की जरूरत नहीं है, अभी जो मेन है वो खतरे में है। सो देयर आर मेनी पीपल दे डोंट बिलीव दैट कि जो चीजें हैं वो एक्चुअली एग्जिस्ट करती हैं। बट यस देयर आर फ्यू केसेस जिसमें वो नहीं होता है। उनके बेसिस पर हम उन चीजों को नहीं निग्लेक्ट कर सकते जो एक्चुअली वहां पर है। ओके रुचि मैम, आप कुछ कह रही थी?
No, I was just saying. So it's allowed. Supreme Court has already given permission regarding this. LGBTs can marry, but actually, it's not accepted right now. But there are various, high profile families in which such cases are reported as Raghavendra Rathore, Raghavendra Rajyavardhan, one of the person from Rajasthan royal family. He's a gay. He's a renowned fashion designer. His father has, what do you call? His father has, um, he has disowned him. His father has disowned him for this reason. Obviously, socially, it's not accepted. Then, legally, now it's accepted.
No, 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 ma'am. Gay marriage is not. It does not have legal status in India. Homosexual relationships, intercourse has been decriminalized. Section 377 has been abrogated. But no, it is
It's
not
not a.
legal. Gay marriage is not legal. It does not have legal sanctity.
Actually,
Okay.
what happened in marriage in India, we have certain rules regarding marriage, because जब marriage होती है, it is not just two people are living together right now. वहां पर बहुत सारी चीजें शेयर होती है, like property, and when you will go for the family planning, your child will be there, उसके भी कुछ rights होंगे। एंड इन केस अगर आपका डिवोर्स होता है तो उसके भी कुछ राइट्स हैं, किसके पास प्रॉपर्टी कैसे डिवाइड होगी, कैसे आपको बाकी चीजें होंगी। दीज ऑल रूल्स आर देयर। तो इन रीजन से भी हम इस चीज को लीगलाइज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, एक ही रीजन भी है। बिकॉज
Okay, but when marriages are, these things will come later on, na? First, so marriage will be legalized, then these things will come into play. Hmm.
हाँ, बट वी कैन नॉट लीगलाइज बिकॉज ऑफ दीज रीजंस। और अगर आपको लीगलाइज नहीं भी करना है तो आप कर लो। नोबडी इज एक्चुअली कमिंग योर होम टू सी आप क्या कर रहे हो। But suppose this happens na actually in India, I know few people that don't actually register their marriage. It is also happening. And there is
Ah,
also मैंने मुझे actually नहीं पता था, later on I understood कि we have certain age of marriage. But अगर आप
yes.
अंडर एज हो and you are marrying and किसी को इस चीज से प्रॉब्लम नहीं है तो it is not a crime. अगर मैं जाकर कंप्लेन करूंगी कि दिस इज हैपनिंग, तब जाकर एक्शन होता
Then,
है। इट इज नॉट
tab
कि
action.
हाँ। तो यही बात है, एक्चुअली मुझे भी लगता था कि हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल कि समवन 16
Hmm.
इयर्स डॉटर इज मैरिंग, क्योंकि मैंने देखा अपने आसपास। देन आई अंडरस्टूड कि यस, इफ आई हैव अ प्रॉब्लम एंड आई एम गोइंग टू क्वेश्चन देम कि व्हाई यू आर डूइंग दिस, तब जाके वो प्रॉब्लम होगी। अदरवाइज नोबडी इज गोइंग टू योर रूम कि भाई आप क्या कर रहे हो। सो टू
Even
गेट
when are when two persons are having sex with their consent, even if they are 15, 16, 17 years old, underage, then if one of the party goes to police first and file a complaint, then to the other party is considered committing a crime. So
यस,
that's also, I can't understand it. The
एंड
strange
द
law.
सेम केस इज विद डाउरी केस। डाउरी में भी मुझे मतलब क्यूरियोसिटी होती है ना, इनिशियली आई यूज्ड टू से कि डाउरी तो क्राइम है, देन व्हाई वी आर डूइंग दिस, तब लेते हैं डाउरी। बट क्राइम तब है जब कोई बोलेगा कि एक्चुअली क्राइम हो रहा है।
मैडम लेने से भी ज्यादा, it's a time of show off, total show off.
यस,
They are
पीपल
taking.
शोइंग ऑफ, दे ब्रैग अबाउट दीज थिंग्स, अरे भाई इतने का ये एंड वो। सो दिस इज हैपनिंग एक्चुअली।
Hmm.
And
Ma'am,
child
because they
marriages
want
is
to show
also
up
happening,
everything.
child marriages is also happening, but now government is taking strict action against it, and they should take that. But in
Ma'am,
Rajasthan,
I want to share something because I'm in the department where I witness so many child marriages. I can't do anything about it when there are so much strict laws are there. Because even 15-year-old girl is becoming a mother. You can't help it. If you stop it at the moment, for example, a girl has become pregnant, she's out of a wedlock, then the two families arrange for their marriage, And if you complained it, because obviously it's a case of child marriage, if you complained about it, a father may commit suicide or the girl herself may commit suicide. So that will result in further greater devastation. So we have to keep shut and let the things happen. So
Exactly.
these are the practical implications are there. So we can't help it.
Yes. Yes, ईश्वर सर आप कुछ बोल रहे हैं?
Yes, ma'am. I want to add some points regarding LGBTQs.
Yes.
Article 377 represented a dark chapter in India's legal history about this, where consensual same-sex relations were criminalized. However, the 2018 Supreme Court ruling has been a beacon of hope and progress for LGBTQ plus rights in India, while there is still a long way to go in terms of societal acceptance. The decriminalization of homosexuality has opened the door for further legal reforms and increased the visibility for the LGBTQ plus community in India. The fight for full equality continue, and with activists and advocates pushing for comprehensive and anti-discrimination laws, legal recognition of same-sex relationships, and broader social acceptance. So these are the legal rules for this community.
Yes. Anyone?
So I was talking about the, let's say, the humanistic approach for the LGBTQ community. Like some people, it is scientifically proven that when they are born, the mind or their soul is different, but their body for some reason are born as a male, but they think as a female, or the vice versa. So for there are some people who are genuinely who are genuinely suffering from this thing, the way we promote heterosexuality and homosexuality as inferior. So they really needs to be uh, appreciated, or should not be judged by us. But on the other hand, there are the major people of the LGBTQ community who just uses this that they are from this community and do this rally wearing weird dresses and forcefully imposing their identity. Those things are to be criticized. And we can see also a very long standing effect of colonization in these things also, because as we are talking about Kama Sutra, in those texts also homosexuality was not regarded as a crime. It was normalized back in that time. But then as the Islamic invasions happened and the British invasions happened, they put in our mind that these are taboo terms, these are not normal, and we are still going with that. And also in these days we use the term aurat, which is a very derogatory term actually. Earlier we used to call women as devi, but now we say, we commonly use ma'am or madam, which in French originally meant that a woman who does her living by prostitution. So from devi we have come to madam, and we have lost our that ethical ground and just taking their ideas as usual.
Yes.
And for performativity, I had a very someone actually told us this when explaining these performativity terms, that when we are invited in a birthday party, if it's a boy, we gift him tanks or like cars, but when it's a girl, we give them Barbie doll or like pink items. So why do we associate with these things with men and these things with child woman all by automatically? There is no ethical reason, but it's just the society has conditioned us in that way, and we're just performing that thing without any logical reason. So that is performativity.
Yes, exactly. And we do this unknowingly, some with the kids also. And I'm saying that everybody, somehow you have does this with your kids or with someone else. That whenever you go for a shopping for a kid, or she's a girl, you buy something pink in color, flowery, because you think that she will like it. But if you are going for a boy, you always go for dark shade colors. You don't go for flowery patterns. I'm talking about clothes. So we do this thing unknowingly sometimes, because it is in our mind, and it is actually conditioned. We are conditioned this way.
But capitalist forces also operate on this thing only. So for my daughter, when I look for clothes, mama's boy, daddy's boy, flowers are there, butterflies, honeybees, and when I see men's sweatshirts, sorry, boys sweatshirts, it has astronaut, it has tanks, it has adventure, it has a guy with he's in the forest and with binoculars. Why these representations are missing from my daughter's clothes? I also wanted to be an adventurer. I also want her to lead. We are subconscious. So the child, when he is getting ready, a 3 or 5 year old child, definitely he will question his mother, what is this? What is this made on my dress? And while my daughter will question me, what is this made on my dress? So I have to tell her that, oh, you're just an object. You're just a trophy wife. You're just going to be a trophy wife. First, you be a very good daughter, and then you go on to be a very good daughter in law. These conditionings, they are also present in our capitalist forces. They also enforce a culture subconsciously. It is not just our choice. So now I'm buying the sweatshirts for her from male section. I said, okay, I'll let her wear boys sweatshirts. What's the big deal?
But actually,
Yes,
it is good you are doing, but in a way, it is also wrong. From a boy's perspective, suppose a
Yes,
boy want to
yes,
wear flowery pattern,
yes, ma'am.
that is also bad.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it is wrong, ma'am. Patriarchy also it affects
Man.
men, but to follow patriarchal rules, men are still given some benefits. If they completely are an obedient son, they will get. There are many many things that the society will benefit them. But if a woman is obedient in this patriarchal structure, she gets nothing, nothing at all. She has to resist. There has to be
Now,
non-conformity every step of the way.
Okay.
It is a burden.
now let's say a woman, if she wears shirt and pant, that is very much acceptable. But if a man wears sari, what will happen then?
But there is a Bengali content creator. He is doing that. He wears sari. He very elegantly carries sari. He is a proper man with great sexuality. Also, with respect to LGBTQ, it's an umbrella term where T stands for transgenders. So I don't know if I should use this word or not, but they have a genital anomaly. They are born with abnormal genitals. So they are biologically transgenders, and then gay, bisexual, a lesbian, this stands for sexuality. They are just like, they are sexually attracted to someone else. And queer is like like Audrey sir said, someone who is born in a body of a man, but he has effeminate ideas. He does not ascribe to the body. He wants to be a woman. So there are many content creators also, they're just coming up. They want to express themselves, and it is unfair from humanist point of view for them to suppress their whole identity and live in claustrophobic social atmosphere, is what I feel.
Yes. Okay, so I think we have discussed so much. ये topic actually एकदम endless है. We can discuss for 2 hours without stopping. किसी और को कुछ?
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
The
sir.
Supreme Court also declared that sexual orientation is fundamental aspect of an individual's identity, and any discrimination based on it was violation of constitutional right.
Yes. Okay, so किसी और को अपने कुछ views share करने हैं with this topic?
So, मेरा एक view था that performity is not just about two genders or men, women, or binary heterosexual, but it also discriminates culturally. Like I was here, I heard it from a podcast where he was saying that we in today's world we say for our daughter we address them as princess, or the fathers address girls as princess. So what automatically does that, they make themselves or nurtures themselves as a softer, as someone who is very who is very delicate. But in that place, if we call them as Rajkumari, that automatically associate it to an image of like Jhansi, the Queen of Jhansi, empowered image. So their upbringing changed with that identity. That how we can control the mindset. Instead of making them weak, we can make them or train them as self independent characters.
Actually, this is the like what we can say that the images related to the word that creates from the narrative. So in India, with the word princess, we have different narratives. Generally, we have narratives from Disney movies. So the princess is that is there in Disney movies. But in Western, I think this is different because in Western culture, princes or the queens, we have Elizabeth also, we have Queen Mary also, Victoria also. So it is also depends on the culture and the country. So we relate a word or the image depending on the narrative. So we Indian have different narratives with related to with different words. So with the word Rajkumari, we have different narratives. For example, Jhansi Ki Rani. But with the word princess, we have Disney princess. So I think this is subjective. This is very culture to culture and country to country. Okay, so only Sigmund Freud is remaining. I think we should discuss him in the next session क्योंकि सारे questions रह गए हैं and बहुत सारा time लगेगा. Okay, so please suggest कि हम next session में क्या discuss करें इसके साथ. Should we go for literary movements with Sigmund Freud? Okay, so
Yeah,
I
we
will
can do that.
share कितने हमें literary movements को discuss करना है, like all the topics, and Sigmund Freud we will discuss on Saturday. Okay, so anyone has any suggestion for the session or any question or doubt, you can